Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Hollers.
Present.
Huddleston.
Here.
Joe.
Here.
Lester.
Here.
Michael. Neely.
Here.
Schwartz. Spencer.
Here.
Spicer.
Present.
Young. We have a quorum.
Is there anybody in the audience wanting to make any public comment? Going once. Going twice. Okay, so number 4, committee question and answer with staff. Is there questions from the committee on anything? Looks like we have all the staff that we need here. Are there any questions for staff before we move to amendments next week or whatever?
I'll ask some questions there.
Councilman Lester.
Page 64 of the non-departmental, you have about new requests for energy audit for building and grounds, and just wondering, we just did an energy audit. Was this not covered in that energy audit?
This is a new energy audit that we just received proposals back on. Does anybody know of another one?
Over the years, we have done them, but we haven't acted on them to a great extent.
Schneider, I saw where Schneider did one 5 years ago, I think.
Correct.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That was the last one.
I know, didn't we just do an RFP for an energy audit?
Yeah. That's what this is showing.
Oh, this
Yeah.
is what this is?
Yeah, that is for,
Okay.
yeah, because they won't start until next year.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
I thought that was probably this year since we,
It's going to be right on the line, and we haven't had a kickoff meeting yet, so we're anticipating it starting and real work happening in 24, 25.
okay, page 65, is it for security, new requests, City Hall security glass film? So what is that?
Well, instead of going with bullet-resistant glass, there is film you can purchase that makes existing glass bullet-resistant. So we have a few windows that still don't have that film on it. So that would be to upgrade those with a film that would at least be a little bit better protection than just a tempered glass.
Okay. So, in planning and protective services, both I see in planning and you have a planning organization you have for requested, not funded for basically an additional planner. I just was wondering about the request and why the request, and also my understanding is, well, anyway, tell me something about why you requested.
Yeah, so, I covered a little bit, I think, at the meeting the other day, just the background there. Approximately 2 years ago, we had 4 planners and 2 planners were removed. So, during that time, I think there's a little evaluation on the workload. And I think kind of evaluating that over the last year and a half, seeing, I think, what our efficiencies are and workloads for staff and talking with staff. I think at this point in time, it might be appropriate in best case scenario to look at adding another staff member. Campo actually has in their budget funding a full staff member. And if you're familiar with how Campo operates, they have their own budget. They pass that prior to coming to council, and then that, so that council can basically have that information when they're making a decision on their budget. My proposed budget, though, was kind of modify that a little bit and ask for kind of a hybrid individual. So instead of one campo planner in addition to our 2 existing. It would be one planner who would be 50% paid from the city's general fund and half paid through campo. And so the city pays about 15% of the campo, so it comes out probably at about 57.5% funded by the city. And I think looking at our campo workload over the last year and a half too, with some of the additional, I think, job tasks we've been asked to take on, there's an opportunity there, I think, where additional staff would help us be more efficient to take on some more of those responsibilities. And I said, I think at the beginning of this would be a best case scenario. I don't think we're at a point where having that additional staff is critical, is absolutely necessary. But I think as increase our workload, hopefully as the city continues to grow, that's something that we want to keep an eye on, so that we are making sure we are providing the service level that we do expect. As we keep an eye on how many types of plans come through our planning department and how much work our campo staffs ask to do, then I think that's something we'll kind of continue to monitor and see. At some point, it may become a critical need. And at that point, I think, that'll be relayed to council at that time. But I think, this one wasn't funded in this round, and I think that was partially probably the fact that I don't think it is kind of an absolute critical need. Those things are kind of evaluate every year as that workload kind of increases, decreases. So I think at this point in time, while it would be nice to have, clearly the city has other needs and limited resources. So I think it's something we can continue to be able to staff level.
It seems like there's more grant opportunities out there recently. Was that part of the thinking, that we can access and be successful in giving more grants?
Yeah, possibly. There is, I think, from the federal government side, I think, from the campo side, there's some additional grant opportunities that they've discussed, but with that additional staff, I don't want to overpromise that adding that additional staff will make a dramatic increase in the amount of grants that we can go after. It'd probably be kind of, I think, help with the current workload, take some of that burden off our current staff. But yeah, I think there could be opportunities there to look at additional grant opportunities.
Go ahead.
So, being that we are in the vicinity of 2 major universities, is it possible that there is a planning internship opportunity that could also help supplement that, as well as support local students?
I have to look into that. I don't believe the University of Missouri has a program for urban or community planning. I'm not as familiar with Lincoln University, but that's something we can take a look at, see if there's intern possibilities.
Okay, on page 106, and it's under professional services, but it's about the study for the tri-level, and it's under the organization. Tri-level, $250,000. The question is, the whole amount is in this budget here, although the counties, supposedly the county will contribute $25,000 of it.
Correct, and so that reflects Campo's whole budget. So it would be the $200,000 from the consolidated planning grant, the $25,000 from the county, and the $25,000 from the city. So that $250,000 is not all city funds.
Okay, but it's, okay, I guess my question is, it seems like it'd be, the city part would be $225,000 in the city budget. But
Mr. Chairman, can I interject? So while you have $250,000 listed here as the expenses, that's because it does all run through MPO. They're offsetting revenues also under MPO in the general fund where the revenue is recognized. So you'll have a federal portion and a local portion there recognized as revenue.
okay, so it's handled there. Okay. So in Public Works,
Maybe that's it now.
I know you have quite a few things that are not funded, including, well, there's a printer that seems like would be important, and then there's lots of vehicles and things. So I guess my question is there a plan to address some of this in the future? I mean, some of these trucks are very old, and obviously there's a need here.
Yeah, I think the direction of putting the budget together, from Brian, our administrator, was like, put all the needs in there so we understand the needs. And then through the budget process, they were gonna look at that and figure out what they could do about it. So I think, depending on which ones you're talking about, I think like vehicles are one thing, which should supply various departments. I think there's a budget in there for that, so we're gonna have to change the leasing program. I think Sheila and Brian both talked about it in there. And then in the street budget is where all the equipment needs are. I think there's 125,000, as I recall. And I think we're going to look at some type of a lease there. So that would get roughly, in rough terms, I think $1 million of equipment. So the question was, if we had $1 million, what would we try to lease? So we're working on that.
Okay.
Now that doesn't do it all, of course, and then that's a reoccurring expense, but it's less than $4 million or whatever's in here.
So is there a document or something that reflects how some of this is going to be taken care of by some of these other leasing or other?
I think that's yet to
approaches?
come. I mean, it's not set in stone. We'll have to, this is a new program. I think similar to probably police vehicles. I heard him talk about that. We'll have to develop a program, assuming the budget passes in this format. You develop a program and come back to council, and they have to approve a contract, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, Public Works provided a priority list based on $1 million of what they think's the most important from that list of unfunded needs. That we hope, if the allocation stays in the budget, that we'll further develop that plan to buy some of those high priority pieces that are in that draft budget.
Okay. And so when might we see more information about that?
Well,
I think we need to pass the budget before really the legwork's done, in order that they know what we put in. And so I think that's kind of the order of events you're gonna see moving forward, is once they have the okay from the council, then we can start putting together that plan. I think it's a good plan. I think the outside the box thinking is what we're gonna have to do moving forward, because we just can't afford these large outlays of money moving forward. So I think once we've confirmed our plan to the staff, then they can move forward with developing a roadmap for what equipment's available and what can be leased and what can't.
Mr. Chairman, we could send out kind of the draft idea of what the high priority things are that Public Works provided us.
I think we saw a lot of that last year. Four snow plows that had cracked axles. We had 1-ton trucks, 2-ton trucks, skid steers, street cleaners, etc. So I think the list is probably fairly similar to last year.
One other question. On page 135, Public Works about chemicals, we put in almost $300,000 for $95,000. And I know it's based on 30 years, but I guess my question is, uh, with this for street salt.
Yeah,
And probably runs from like mid-November to mid-March maybe or something, use.
yeah, it might be. Weather dependent, of course.
So we have still some street salt that carries over to next year or not?
Yeah, at the end of the year, we try to fill all of our reserves up, and we do have that now. And then, so this would be kind of a typical year's worth of salt if we emptied those bins and filled them back up. Oh, it's weather dependent. Now, we could spend more than this, certainly. And we have in the past. We just got lucky the last couple winters probably. And like I said in my little presentation, we'd typically either buy a piece of equipment if we had leftover money or do more street materials or something like that. How the budgets were running, or you might have to come back in January and do a supplemental budget and say, we gotta buy more salt. So we've done that many a time.
Will you be here for that?
What's that?
Will you be here for that?
Probably not this year.
You look a little more relaxed.
Okay, it just seemed to me that maybe we could put less into that, but I don't know. That's all my questions.
Any other questions of staff?
I do have.
Councilman Switch.
So last year, Councilman Schwartz and I did try to work up a proposal for a lease program for construction equipment. Is that still part of the overall big picture with the lease program? I mean, we're talking skid steers, I believe track hoe.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but so Brian posed a question to us: if you had $1 million, what would you do with that? And that sometimes depending on the amount of money, it might vary a little bit. Maybe we can work in a couple trucks where maybe, because they're cheaper than maybe a street sweeper, and so we kind of made a plan based on $1 million. I think it ended up being just over $1 million by the time you add it all up. Of course, then you go back and look at actually the deal you're going to be able to make with that money, and then you might have to tailor that slightly different again.
The street sweeper, is that, a little bit off topic, but is that up and running?
Yeah, we have our street sweepers running. I mean
The new
as
one.
of last day I checked, but they are a high maintenance piece of equipment.
Yes.
So we have some newer ones and older ones. Sometimes the older ones work better than newer ones. The central maintenance guys will kind of dictate that to us and let us know. But a lot of moving parts, a lot of water in there, so it's just a recipe to break down a lot.
But I'm talking about the one that we purchased with ARPA funds. We got a bad one,
We sent it back. I believe everything's up and running again. Yeah.
and it's operational. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we will send out kind of a draft plan of $1 million. But just real quickly, I'm looking at it here. It's 2 heavy-duty trucks, 3 3/4 tons with the service bodies, 2 skid steers, a tandem axle dump truck, a street marking paint truck, and a mini X. And that will be roughly what's purchased and equal to the amount we have in lease payments for next year. And it's a little over $1 million. So it's not everything, but it's hopefully steps in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Neely.
Thank you. I'm on page 136, and I'm just looking at that page in sadness that there's no money for street crack sealing. I don't know if street crack sealing has been something we've done in the last year or so, but I know it really extends lives of roadways. I travel quite a bit, and I see it in a lot of other communities. The crack sealing was done on West Main there mow up by Memorial Park, and it's starting to come off a little bit to where it's starting to break up and create potholes, but I would just advocate for crack sealing.
Yeah. The reason that says it like that, that's under the capital purchases one, and some years ago, the council put in through like a third-party contractor to do a bunch of crack sealing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's listed like that. We'd still do crack sealing in-house up in the operational budget. It's just that this was like a construction project that we farmed out, so that a lot of that stuff down there, you kind of look through neighborhood improvements, those are all sidewalk program, those are all like CIP funded through a contractor. Up above is the operational one, and so that's where we would take that crack sealing material money.
What is the line
Our own
item
staff.
budget amount there?
What's that?
What is the line item budget amount where you're saying to go?
To go to, let me see, it'd be right there. It's our wrong page, I think. Previous page, it'd just be the street material budget. So crack sealing is one of those things you do when it's cooler out, but not,
Right.
you can't do it super hot or the cracks are pushed back together. You can do it super cold, so it's kind of, you gotta get a sweet spot, but it takes a lot of labor and very little material. So
It does take a lot of labor, and I understand that's probably why sometimes communities don't go that route, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, as we spend a lot of money on our roads, crack sealing is something we could really do to save our roads and get these street overlay budgets under control and have our roads up to snuff. I really think it's the answer, so I just wanted to say that.
yeah, and if you go out and look at like this pressure pave contract we're just doing, or some of these seal coat projects,
Right.
all that gets crack sealed prior to, so it'll show back up through there eventually. But we seal all those cracks up, the major cracks, and then put that down on top, and that's exactly what it's for, is preserve the pavement.
Right. And like in Ward 2, I just see a couple of, maybe it's not even in Ward 2. I just see periodically a street in Jeff City that's been crack sealed, but very, spread apart, not many of them. And so I just think if we could increase that activity, we might be able to decrease some other activities, save ourselves some money. I mean, I know time is expensive. I know it takes those guys and gals a lot of time to manually go and pour that liquid asphalt in those cracks. I get it, but and that's probably something you all would typically do this time of year, right? September.
It's getting ready. I mean, we just came off 100-degree a week ago or so. So yeah, we haven't geared up for that. That'll come a little bit later, but it's all the same people. So it's a bit of art and science that, today we're doing curb, but next week we might do some crack sealing. We try to stay in a neighborhood where we can do it all kind of together, have a decent sized project, we can get it done.
Yeah. Well, maybe we need some part-time crack sealing folks. I appreciate you pointing out the page that's actually on.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Ms. Perry, do you want to go over quickly the calendar real quick? Moving forward, so we all know before we get out of here.
So the next item on the calendar will be the deadline for committee members submitting their amendments. That will be by close of business on Friday, September 13th. In the packet for the very first meeting that we had, there was a budget amendment form. And so what we are looking for is that budget amendment form needs to be completed and turned in to me by close of business on Friday, September 13th. I will review all of them and make sure that whatever is being requested is able to be done, meaning it doesn't violate any of the things we would typically look at. Then we will put a list together to provide to the chairman, and the meeting where those will be presented and discussed will be on Thursday, September 19th from 5:30 to 7.
Could we get that list in advance of the meeting? It's just easier to prepare and be a good council member for the constituents of the information. if I have the information for the meeting, I can absorb it.
Yeah, I mean, I will do the best to get that out to the entire committee. Mr. Chairman, would you anticipate that we would send those budget amendments out to everyone as well?
I don't care.
So, I mean, we will do all we can to come up with a list and provide the budget amendments so that you're at least prepared to talk about them at the meeting on Thursday, September 19th. Because I do believe that may be the only one that we have on, the only meeting we have on the calendar before the vote on the amendments happens Thursday, September 26th.
Any questions about the schedule? Or we can just pass the budget tonight if you all want. I'm good either way. Well, seeing no further questions about schedule or for staff,
Motion to adjourn.
there's a motion on the floor. And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night.